Why does Nigeria feel the urgency to polish its image abroad? This is a question we must begin with because Nigeria has had administrations that failed to deliver. We have witnessed corruption openly and repeatedly. We've endured poor governance for decades. That is not to say this is okay, but never have we ever witnessed a government sink this far into desperation to rebrand itself internationally the way this administration is doing now. A country that believes in its progress doesn't choose validation. Even countries with poor records often beat their chests ruthlessly and move on. But Nigeria is different. Nigeria is obsessed with polishing its image, which tells us something unsettling. Nigeria knows what is wrong. Nigeria also knows what is bad. Yet Nigeria chooses to continue doing what is wrong while desperately wanting to be perceived as good. And that is where the real problem lies. Because for the first time in our history, we are watching a sitting First Lady of Nigeria appear on foreign television platforms to speak about insecurity and national cohesion, matters that ordinarily fall within the remit of the state institutions and security officials. And this raises a disturbing question. If Nigeria is truly safe, why is this message not delivered first to Nigerians? This is the point where image management crosses into image laundering. But the situation has now deteriorated even further. We have descended to a moment where international platforms are no longer merely skeptical, but are declining Nigeria's participation outright. This is an all-time blow, and that is the context of the First Lady's encounter with Tony Perkins. So, who is Tony Perkins? He is not just a random media personality. He is a long-standing American conservative leader who is known widely for his work on religious freedom, human rights, and his documentation of persecution of faith communities across the world. So now you understand why this matters and why this moment is trending. But rather than prolong this video unnecessarily, please take a listen.
Growing trend all over the world, including in the United States, but especially in the Middle East. It's been there for a long time. That has gotten worse. Hamas is the quintessential example of that hatred for Jews and for Christians. And then you have a situation like in Nigeria, where more Christians have been killed there than anywhere else in the world. And you have a government in Nigeria that practices denial, a culture of denial. No, nothing to see here. They even hired DC. A big firm here in D.C.
The First Lady was here. She was here this week, and in fact, they wanted to come on the program to talk about religious freedom. And I said, I'm not going to give them. I'm happy to meet with anybody.
Same here.
But I'm not going to give them a platform to cover up what they're doing in Nigeria.
And that's just what it is, a massive cover-up. You know, I met with a big delegation that came in, and it went for almost 2 hours. And the Attorney General of Nigeria said that this Bishop Anabe, who I had at 2 of my hearings, you were there.
He testified right next to me.
Right next to you. A wonderful man. He said, he's a liar. And I said, whoa, stop that, And then they always do the thing, my wife's a Christian, or I'm a Christian, and my husband, it's like, don't tell me that. What is happening as churches are being firebombed, people are being killed in cold blood, abductions, which is very, very big there in Nigeria, of Christians especially, but others, but especially Christians. And there's this assault on faith that has gotten worse. Obama did nothing. Boko Haram flourished under his 8 years in office, and now
it was your persistent advocacy that actually eventually got them labeled as a terrorist organization.
Yes. For 3 years we tried, Tony, and I had hearings on it. We had people give very, very compelling testimony as to what Boko Haram was doing, and finally, on the day we were marking up my bill to tell the administration you have to declare them a FTO, foreign terrorist organization, that day, that hour, basically, they said, they're an FTO.
Yeah.
And it was like 3 years ago, we could have been working to find out where their sources of funding and weapons.
You see, this reaction did not just happen in a vacuum. The lobbying of the US firm has already enforced an impression of a country trying to manage narratives instead of reality. Yet even now, there are voices telling Nigerians to not demarket the country, as though the damage is coming from critics, not the conduct. But the truth is simpler and uncomfortable. Nigeria walked itself into the shelf, placed itself there, was inspected, and was quietly tagged as goods for recall. That, in essence, was Nigeria's moment with Tony Perkins, a refusal without a request for context. And when a platform no longer needs context to say no, the problem is no longer about perception. It is credibility. You cannot accuse people of demarketing a country when a country itself is doing the damage. Nigeria doesn't need better explanation abroad. Nigeria needs better realities at home. Because once credibility is gone, even context becomes unnecessary. It is a truth at a time. Take care and have a nice day.